POVMC. I'm having a strange feeling through my body, I don't know how to describe it, but the closest is the feeling of a baby in its mother's womb. I feel like I'm drowning in bubbling water. But how did I get here? Flashback time. I was in my room watching the recently released anime called My Hero Academia that I had waited until I had the first 3 episodes to give the story a chance. As a professional critic, self-titled, I looked for a post on the forum to debate, and soon I found my target. His name was I Am God, which I thought was a peculiar name, but I couldn't judge. After a long debate we soon started laughing together as if it were a joke to pass the time. We ended up being silent as if we appreciated the time. Soon he was the first to say, I haven't laughed this hard in a long time. Tell me, Shadow, nickname, if you went to MHA, what power would you choose? Of course, respecting the world level, I am God. After thinking about the answer for a long time, I remembered a character that I loved as a child so much for his personality and power. If I were to analyze all the possibilities, I would choose Garra and his powers, because of how versatile he transformed his power, of course also considering the Baijiu, Shikaku, as part of his power, just so that his level was much higher than most. I can't say if he would be able to defeat all might since I haven't seen much about him. Shadow. After my answer, 1 minute passed without me receiving a message. When I was about to give up, I suddenly saw it written. Are you sure of your choice? I am God. I didn't understand why he said those words, but I answered without thinking too much. Yes, Shadow. Then I wish you good luck, I am God. When I read those words I suddenly felt a great sleep, and now I am in the current situation. End of flashback. When these memories came back I suddenly started to feel my body. Trying to open my eyes I saw that I was inside a cylindrical glass capsule. I couldn't look more closely because my sight was blurring, and soon I had to close it, but before I saw 2 people in front of me in white coats looking at me in astonishment, and after what appeared to be an argument, one of them ran from the room. With my eyes closed I felt a sudden and powerful urge that made me fall asleep. POV Dr. Sejao Miyamura, it's a random name so don't worry, this is just for identification. My name is Sejao Miyamura, I am an illegal scientist working in the suburbs of Hosa City. When I was caught doing illegal experiments at my former workplace, while running away, I was met by a man who was wearing the attire of a conventional bartender, but his face it was hidden by a dense mist, as if its body was made from it. You are the scientist Sejao, I presume, said the being that I didn't recognize. By knowing my identity, I was soon alert and held a gun that I had hidden in my lab coat in case it was necessary. With a touch of anxiety on my face, I soon asked the being, who the hell are you? Show yourself. Even seeing my gun pointing at him, the being didn't back down and just raised his hands as if he was mocking me. Calm down, Sir Sejao, I'm here to make you an offer. At first I didn't answer, but I waved for him to continue, of course, without taking my eyes off him. I want you to participate in our project. You and another qualified team of scientists will carry out experiments related to humans, or rather laboratory rats, in search of creating a perfect being in everything. This will not be without remuneration. I will give you a safe place for research and money. What do you think? It's a good offer, isn't it? I found it really tempting but couldn't help but doubt it. This offer was too good to be true, so to confirm what I should do at the moment I asked. Who is behind you? Who is your leader? Come on, Mr. Sejao, that's not important right now. Know that I can help you escape this place if you agree to our agreement, but if you want to know who my boss is, you can look back. When those words were said I felt a cold sweat on my back and a great pressure on my body. I looked back as I felt such pressure on me, and what I saw was just a huge person with an evil look on his face. Even so, I couldn't help but recognize the figure. It was someone well known in the criminal underworld, even if he was unknown to the sunlit world, because of his control of the media. My eyes couldn't hide the horror I was feeling at this moment, and my face was completely pale. All for one * gulp. So doctor, are you willing to contribute with us or not? The creature that was behind me spoke. So after that incident 4 years have passed, I am currently working for all. For one in a hidden place in the city of Hosu. In the beginning I soon understood how the experiments would be carried out. We would use incubator capsules to create human fetuses. Right in their initial moments we would give different types of serums and strengthen their bodies soon as they developed. Not everything was perfect and only 3 fetuses out of 100 that we had previously managed to survive to become full babies. With that, we moved them to bigger capsules to spend all the rest of their development in them. With that a year went by that we studied how to give them permanent power. During that time we didn't touch the Alpha, Omega, and Delta projects, as they will be called for now, but soon after some positive results we used the serum on them definitely. All for one didn't stop us, and as long as we got results he wouldn't do anything to us. The serum was tested on all 3 but unfortunately Delta died in the process. The other 2 showed no change, but through blood and body tissue samples we saw that their muscles and skin became stronger, and their blood now seemed to have a higher duplication, causing his regeneration to be increased. We were happy with the result, but it was still not enough. We had to create the perfect being, the one that even in his state of weakness remained at the top. Soon more and more experiments were carried out, involving both whether on mental, cognitive improvement, enhanced senses, strength and stamina. All have been tested. Unfortunately the Omega project died midway, leaving us with only Alpha still alive. Seeing that, we were considerably discouraged, but we didn't give up. He was our hope to stay safe and alive. With that it had been 3 years since the project had been created. In the 3rd year of the project, they took 1 year doing the experiments that resulted in the death of Omega. Alpha appeared to be perfect. His body, genetically modified, showed no signs of defects, be it muscle mass, DNA, skin, eyes, mind, anything possible. He was perfect, but we didn't stop there. We continued tests involving his body. We pushed him to the limit possible. And soon, half a year had passed in this way. There was nothing more we could do. What we hoped was that soon he would wake up from his sleep and show us real effects of our creation. There was nothing else we could do with his body, ourselves. Now it depended only on him and how he would train his body and quirk. With the tests they did in Alpha all these years, it is logical that they would notice that he had a quirk. Even with that, we did not fail to notify All for One about all the progress made, and they rewarded us very well. The child even after all this time still did not wake up. Afraid we did tests to see how his mental state was, and we saw that it was healthy, with no bugs in it. More than half a year passed like this. Alpha, on its 4th anniversary since its creation, showed active signals in the brain for the first time in years. After that we went day after day in its capsule waiting for it to wake up. Moments before the MC's awakening, there was me and another colleague walking normally along the corridor towards Alpha's room. This for us has already become routine, but today I woke up with a different feeling a hint of anxiety and animation. Entering the room soon I noticed that Alpha still had his eyes closed. When I was about to give up, turning my back to the capsule, my colleague started screaming. Ah! I hurriedly looked at him because I didn't understand what happened. He had fallen to the ground shaking completely. On his face was a huge shock and in his eyes there was a light being radiated in joy and excitement. I didn't understand at first, but then he pointed to the capsule where Alpha was with her fingers shaking. LL, look! Alpha has woken up! Alpha woke up! When I heard that, my eyes immediately moved to the capsule and I clearly saw his open eyes looking all around. He had made some subtle movements to change direction, but right after his eyes met mine he was closing them. At that moment, I quickly shouted to my companion, with a gigantic smile on my face and a completely crazed and joyful look on my face. Kyaku! Go quickly deliver the news to All for One. Our little monster just woke up. Hearing that, he didn't question it and immediately ran outside in search of contacting the others. So, there it is, taking into account the comments of the previous fan FIC. This novel will be no harem. That's because I saw that in the future, it will contribute a lot to develop the characters, mainly the personality of the MC. Who, by the way, will have a lot of development in the middle to the end of the story. All this due to FMC, which obviously I will not say who it is, but it will have a great contrast with the personality that I want to give to Garra. Or better known in this chapter as, Project Alpha. This chapter have 3,1k of words, enjoy. Edit, I fixed the initial bug, but I don't understand what happened. 2. The demon that controls the sans. Talking. Thinking. Message. POV Sejao. After waiting for a few minutes, I felt a strong pressure on me again, but instead of the first time, this pressure was softer and lighter. When I looked back I saw him, all for one, he showed a big smile, and he was hitting. Clap. Clap clap clap. Impressive. Very impressive. So he woke up, hey? Even if it was for a short time, you know. I was a little out of patience when you said that he didn't wake up no matter what, but even so I waited a long time, because you brought me results. I must congratulate you for that, Sir Sejao. When I heard that, my body lost color and I was shocked, but right at the end of his sentence I was proud and with the look of someone who fulfilled all his desires in this life, even if all for one was not a good or nice being. Still it's a lot to receive a single compliment from him, after all, he is the #1 villain in the world. Come on, it's not that much, Mr. All for One, I only did the duty you had imposed on me, there's nothing to be proud of, even if my face said otherwise. With his awakening, even if momentary, proves that the experiment it was a success, and soon it will wake up completely. I just believe it takes 1 month. When I was going to continue that sentence, I felt a horrible pressure, worse than I felt when I met him for the first time. I felt like I was going to die. Right there, Kyaku, who brought All for One to us, had again fallen to the ground. With that I turned pale and I was very scared, because when I saw All for One's expression, I just lowered my head. His face was showing serious displeasure, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. All for One still hasn't suffered the scars from the battle. With all might, then a calm but powerful voice that put everyone present under even more pressure rang out in the room. Do you need more time? Sir Sejao, my patience has limits and you've used it a lot. I've waited for 4 years for everything to be finalized and finally tested him, and you still ask for more time. My body was freezing, and my limbs were completely paralyzed, my mouth was trembling. With my jaw opening and closing my mouth, I said quickly to him, just so I wouldn't suffer any more. I can speed up the process, sir. But we have to have at least a week. Less than that could cause a mental error to occur in Alpha, with serious forced awakening consequences. I said honestly, not lying at all. I just wanted to hide in a hole and never be found, but suddenly, the pressure in my body was gone. I lifted my head and saw All for One taking a deep breath. Sigh asterisk, well, I'll give you a week to wake him up. In the middle of his sentence All for One stopped talking. He was looking at whatever was behind me. I didn't dare to turn my back on him, so I kept waiting for him to speak again. Oh ho, looks like all that pressure paid off. At that moment, All for One passed by me, and looked directly at the capsule where Alpha was. I soon understood that pressure was not for me, but for Alpha, who was behind me. I looked at All for One, who had his hand on the capsule, and saw Alpha awake again. His eyes showed caution, and also a slight pressure, which compared to the being in front of him, All for One, that meant nothing. Oh? So young and already trying to intimidate me. When those words fell, again I felt a great pressure in the room. Alpha that emitted the previous pressure ended up giving in and just waited without doing anything. All for One again spoke, with a calm expression and a wide smile on his face. You woke up, child. I think it's time to remove you from that capsule, isn't it? When I heard that, I immediately ducked, as All for One positioned himself as if he were going to punch the capsule, which he did, so all the liquid that was inside came out and Alpha fell to his knees on the floor of the platform where he was placed. His eyes now showed curiosity and strangeness. I saw that he tried a few times to get up, but it seemed impossible for him. After all, his brain can be considered that of a newborn, but soon he managed to stand up, probably because of the speed of learning your brain developed, with all those tests and serums. Just woke up and managed to stand up, really impressive. All for One rubbed his hand on his chin as he looked at Alpha, showing a slight curiosity about the boy and what he was capable of. I didn't say anything, so as not to disturb the thoughts of the being in front of me, when he suddenly called my name. Dr. Sejao. Why yes. I will leave the boy here, do more practical tests involving his physique and quirk, also prepare all the files involving the project and deliver them to me. Do not leave any traces about the information. You have 1 year for that. After that time I will decide if the project is to be finished or if we are going to continue with it. I will not come here personally for that period of time, as I have recently attracted enough attention from that mouse and the disciple of an old friend. Why yes sir. After that a year passed. Time skip 11 months. I was currently observing Alpha who was in his room. This year we did many tests and found out what his quirk was. The boy had superhuman capabilities in all expected aspects. His quirk, which we discovered by chance, is very powerful if used creatively. During all these years I made several notes on my computer about the child. I did not leave the information there, and then I put it on a pen drive that I always carry with me, in case of any unexpected situation. Flashback to the day they discovered quirk. Again we were testing Alpha, because 6 months have passed but we haven't discovered anything about his quirk. We tested everything, if it was a quirk of strength, transformation, mental and others, but nothing worked. In that time Alpha showed great learning for achieving speaking after only 3 months since we released him. Math, geometry, physics and chemistry are not a problem for him. When we were going to teach him about hand-to-hand combat one more day, he said that he felt something in the punching bag. We were in ecstasy, because it could be that he was showing some reaction with the material of the bag. We asked him to detail the feeling, but he only said a few words. I feel like I have a connection to something inside the bag, like I can move it in any direction. Alpha was always a quiet child, and only spoke when necessary. He was a highly obedient being and did everything we told him to do. With these words we felt even more excited, as it could be that he had the power to manipulate gravity, like attraction and repulsion. We asked him to try to move whatever it was in the bag, and soon the result surprised us. The once normal bag had been punctured in several different places. The sand was moving towards Alpha. We walked away to a safe distance and we saw that he was playing with the sand, moving to different sides and even molding his shape. We were delighted. Even though it wasn't what we expected, it was still a strong and malleable power. When we told All for One, he told us to start training his quirk, so we tested all his limits, how much he could sustain, the amount he could manipulate, and how long he could last if he used the power continuously. The tests were impressive, and now it's been almost a year since everything happened. As time went by I also became more and more anxious, because, according to All for One, he was going to remove any trace of information about the case, even our notes. So on any given day, I decided to go to the base's file center, and with a pen drive to store all of them, I took advantage of the fact that the base was undergoing an inspection of the machines and that the cameras had been turned off. So I did, and incredibly All for One did not notice. After all, he has control over the entire base, as he would probably never think that someone would cheat or betray him. End of flashback. Now I was walking normally through the corridor when I heard several screams coming towards me. I couldn't help but be surprised. After all, the direction it came from was the area where Alpha's room was. All for One, seeing the quality of Alpha, designated several villains under his control to guard the area around the base, and inside, I recognized the voice that came from the scream as the voice of one of the villains that was with us. I ran as fast as I could towards the voice. I was afraid that something would happen to Alpha. After all, he is the being that I spent 5 years of my life developing. When I arrived at the place, I saw that the person who was screaming before was now inside a large mass of sand, when suddenly the sand caused his blood to fly many meters away. Who wants to know about that? Just think of the coffin of sand that Garra used in the exam Chunin. Then my mind calculated countless possibilities, but one thing was certain. This was caused by Alpha. When I looked again, I saw that Alpha was behind the person who had just been exploded. His eyes had changed, now. He was in the shape of a cross and with a few small balls on each eye. His pupil also changed color, and now it was golden, the color of sand. Image here. He showed an evil smile. When I saw it, I paralyzed, but one of my colleagues who had arrived because he heard the screams fell to the ground. While he was talking. Demon. After hearing that, I died. This was the birth of a being that would be called by villains as the Demon of the Sands. Hello there, IsekaiFan here. This chapter was exclusively a POV of Dr. Sejao, who reported on what happened in this time skip of 11 months. I did not go into detail about Alpha, Garra's training because it would be a lot of work and I would have to look for it about all possible types of training, but basically, they used several machines to improve his performance in training, in addition to him being trained in different martial arts because his brain is able to learn quickly. MC will not be a machine, he will still have the brain of an average college student, the only change is that he will learn more quickly and adapt to situations. Spoiler of the next chapter, Chapter 3, The Child Surrounded by Corpses. Chapter 4, Garra's Awakening. The next chapter will probably mix the POV of 3 people, so don't get confused. This chapter have 2k of words. Enjoy. 3. The child surrounded by corpses. Talking. Thinking. Message. POV all for 1. I was now fighting my old friend's disciple, he evolved and is more powerful, but even so I'm just having a little work with him. The problem is that because of him I can't ask Kurogiri to teleport us, because he always prevents that. It's already been quite annoying with him following us. Due to some recent actions he managed to find me in one of my hiding places, and now he is being a pain in the ass. Because of that I asked Kurogiri to go to the main base to report anything unusual in the bases. Because if necessary I will use all my powers to escape. Now I'm just having fun with All Might. Suddenly Kurogiri appears near our location. Oh Kurogiri, did something unusual happen? I turned my attention to Kurogiri, but All Might who was fighting me was annoyed that his opponent was distracted against him, but he still didn't say anything. He was more focused on hitting me. Punches and more punches were thrown at me. Texas smash. I was a little pressured because of that, but I just kept punching back. Kurogiri soon spoke. Alpha went on a rampage and wiped out the entire base. Police were called by people nearby due to the loud screams. Anime logic, don't think too much about it. According to my calculations they will arrive in 15 minutes. I see. Kurogiri, do me a favor and remove all files related to the experiment, in addition to the camera recordings. All Might for Psi asterisk. Kurogiri, go, I'm going to play some more with that stupid disciple of my friend. Hearing my words Kurogiri just nodded and disappeared into his own portal, after which I heard a loud shout directed towards me. All for 1. I gave a big smile at the moment because I thought it was fun. We were in the center of the city of Jakku, the civilians have already been evacuated so I can't use them to distract All Might. So let's dance. With that our fight continued for a long time, about 13 minutes, and I'll explain why, but for fighters every second can be an eternity. POV Kurogiri. Listening to my master's orders I did what I was asked, arriving at the base. It took me a few seconds to prepare another teleport to the file room. I took as much care as possible. After all, Alpha was still wandering the corridors. If he found me it would be almost impossible for me run away. To get here it took me 3 whole minutes, considering the distance between the 2 cities. Yes, I researched, hahaha, I didn't want his teleport to be instantaneous. His teleport can at most cover an entire city and it takes a while before he can teleport again if you use the maximum distance. That was just a limit I imposed. After all quirks have to have a disadvantage. After 2 minutes of waiting, I finally arrived at the designated location. Using a pen drive I loaded all the information possible to it. After that I deleted everything that was in the files, and destroyed the network of cameras so that nobody would be able to see me in the place. So when I was entering the camera area and saw that Alpha had fallen unconscious after killing the last 2 people alive in the base. Looking at that, I saw it as a chance to please the master even more, but the moment I was going to teleport, my body paralyzed and I hesitated. If you don't know, Kurogiri was made with the body of a close friend of Aizawa and present Mike, so your body just this once will have a mind of its own. I tried to pass the portal in every way, but both the subconscious of my brain and my body wouldn't allow it, as if they didn't want this child to suffer more. Time was passing and seeing that I couldn't help but sigh. Sigh asterisk, I understand, you are lucky child, there are only 5 more minutes left for the police to enter. It seems that they called Heroes 2 to solve the case. Long live child, I have already completed my mission. All for One's orders said nothing about Alpha, because for him it is irrelevant. He believes that even Alpha being strong will never be stronger than him. So I created another portal to get to All for One and disappeared. POV All for One. I continued to play with All Might while waiting for Kurogiri's return. A good time passed. I was fighting with him, throwing punches and suffering damage. It didn't matter much to me because after all I had a quirk of super regeneration and stamina, since All Might was wounded in several places and bleeding, still standing unwilling to let me out. I thought it was commendable, but in a way it was a useless effort. I started to lose patience and I was ready to kill him, when I was going to strike another blow that could very well be deadly for him. I heard a voice calling me. Master, I completed the mission, we can go now. Upon hearing that, I stopped my blow, and smiled. I didn't feel like hitting All Might anymore. After all, even though he is now Japan's #1 hero, he is still weak considering the others one for all wielders. I'll give it one more little time for him to get stronger, so we can have a worthy fight between the greatest villain in the world and the greatest hero in the world. I see. Kurogiri, prepare the portal, we will return home. You're not going anywhere. Detroit Smash. All Might. All Might tried to stop me, his punch sent me away, but I just threw another punch that sent him flying further than the previous one. With that, Kurogiri had time to prepare the portal and we quickly left. Then I remembered what Kurogiri had said to me. Alpha went into a berserk state. Hey. With that, I discarded the Nomu Alive project, and I will focus more only on the study of the other project that I did together with Dr. Kaihu Daiguriki. I don't need tools that can become unstable at any moment. When I was passing through the portal, I still heard All Might's voice screaming, All for One. POV Naomasa Tsukachi. We, the police, had a complaint about loud screams coming from a certain place in the suburbs of Hosa City. As it was close to the area, my partner and I went to the place. At first we didn't find anything suspicious. We even found the person who had done it the call. She pointed to a specific direction where she had heard the sounds. Going in the indicated direction, we found a large shed that we didn't dare to enter. If it was a place where a lot of villains were, I couldn't risk it, so I called all the heroes that were active in the city at the time. It was night, so few could come. Even so, the Idaitan team, Ingenium team, yes, Lida's brother, he's like 23 now, and 2 other teams came, so I told them about the information obtained. Thanks everyone for coming here at this time. We received a report about a large amount of screaming coming from this current location. I let them process the information I gave them and then continued. We looked around the entire area but found nothing. While we were looking, we found the person who had made the complaint. He pointed in a specific direction. When we went to check the place, we discovered a large warehouse. I didn't dare to enter carelessly, so I called you here. I hope you stay alert because we can face a large number of villains. Everyone at the time had serious looks on their faces, and some looked nervous, probably because it was their first time officially working on a case. Soon we arrived at the place. My colleague and I carefully broke the lock and opened the door. At that moment everyone ran inside in search of defeating the first villain they saw, but it was empty. There were only boxes and more boxes. There was nothing else. I suspected because I had already seen the whole area where there could be screams, and that was the only place left. I asked all the heroes present not to let their guard down and look carefully if there was anything unusual, when Ingenium suddenly called everyone. Guys, I found something here. When we saw it, there was an unusual box. exactly the size of an average human. What left us most thoughtful was that even when we tried, the box would not move, in addition to having a specific padlock, needing a password, seeing that we asked for one of the heroes who had a hand in the shape of a drill to break the lock. Opening the box, everyone was anxious because it seemed to be a secret passage to the underground. When we entered, we didn't see anyone. Ingenium took the lead. We accepted and decided to pay attention to everything around. Whenever we passed by a corridor, Ingenium told everyone to stop, and he peeped a bit, until we saw a special area. There was even a safe door to the hall. We entered, but in the first hall, when Ingenium put his head to observe, he soon returned to her. He looked scared and held his mouth mask, as if not to make a sound. At that moment we all entered a state of alert. Soon we ran towards the corridor. Ingenium tried to stop us, but some did not listen and went. Anyway, soon a terrible sight reached everyone. Some fell, others vomited. But I, as a policeman and especially as a detective, I've seen many things like that, but even I was scared. A floor completely painted red, several bodies scattered and sand everywhere. In the middle of these bodies was one in particular that left me intrigued, a child. A child surrounded by corpses. Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. As you can see, I tried to make it as realistic as possible, even if I lost logic in some parts. In the next chapter there will also be a POV of several characters, just showing their perspectives and about their development with the main character. It's only in chapter 5 that the MC will actually have a POV of his own, to make the story as complete as possible. I decided to do it that way, because I had imagined that all four one might want to go get Alpha, Garra, so I made a small scene where he is prevented from leaving the place because of All Might. A curiosity about me, smiley face. Detective Naomasa has the same date of birth as me. That's basically it. Finally, I finished the first 3 chapters for you to give comments about. Comment on your opinions because I can use them in the future of the work. Smiley face. Spoiler of next chapters. Chapter 4, The Demon Child, Garra's Awakening. Chapter 5, Traumas. This chapter has 1.9k words. Enjoy. 4, Garra's Awakening. POV Naomasa Tsukachi. Seeing the amount of bodies on the ground, I couldn't stop walking towards the child. I looked around, absorbing all that vision of fallen corpses. I took a long drink of my own saliva when I recognized a good part of them. Many were villains, but not just any villains, were villains who made names for themselves and disappeared a few years ago. Who would have thought they would be here now, dead? Seeing them all dead made me even more anxious for the child. Let's go. Kid, Dio, you must be alive. Suddenly, with that thought, thousands of possibilities flashed through my mind. I froze. Many times well-trained and capable police officers end up giving up because of traumas in the work zone. I felt that if I didn't save the child, even having the ability, it would haunt me for life. I ran as fast as I could. Reaching the child, I fell to my knees on the ground. Without caring about the pain, I touched the child's arm. His body was still warm. It gave me a splash of hope in my heart, so I put my fingers close to his nose. I felt his breath. It's alive. With that information, my eyes seemed moist just with the possibility of the child being saved. When I turned it over, I was in shock. No apparent wounds on her body. It made me think, whoever it is, this person decided to leave the boy alive. Seeing her still unconscious, I thought it must have been because of her shock to see all these people on the floor. But how did a child get here? I started to think about that possibility but soon dismissed it. We have more important things than that now. I looked back and saw that Ingenium had already recovered quite a bit from his previous shock, as he was the first person to see the disaster among the heroes. He was also the first person to calm down. Seeing that, I soon made an order. Ingenium, call an ambulance. The boy is alive. Hearing that, he didn't take long and already started calling the ambulance through a basic device that each hero carries in case of injuries to people. Seeing that, I started to do my part too, taking a special police communicator. I started to report. Hello. Listening Center? I'm Detective Naomasa Tsukachi, ID 78492840. Are you listening? I waited a while but then I heard a response. Roger, listening central, what happened detective? I was thoughtful for a few seconds looking for what words could describe the scene. Detective Naomasa. The situation is not important now. I request that an investigation team and 2 body removal teams come to Hosa City. On XXXXXXXXX Street, at XXXXXX Warehouse. Upon hearing my words about removing bodies, the voice was changed and the head of the center began to speak. What happened detective? Hearing that I replied in a few words. A massacre. After 30 minutes of waiting the teams arrived, of the heroes only the Idatan team remained, the others decided to leave because they couldn't stand the sight and the smell of blood that permeated the whole place. During that wait the ambulance arrived and took the boy to a hospital, and the chief of police who was alerted to the matter left me in charge of the case. Thanks to everyone who came. Looking around, as you can see there are a lot of corpses around us, so I decided. Investigation team. Yes. Form 5 smaller teams and spread out around the area looking for any useful clues. Each team will have a hero from Team Idatan accompanying them in case something unexpected happens. Yes. Soon they did as ordered and scattered. Remaining teams collect the bodies and search them. Place them in a line. To make it easier. Yes. With that, another half hour passed, everyone acted quickly and in those 30 minutes 40 bodies were found, 15 bodies had lab coats which indicates that they could be scientists, the rest were probably villains. The investigation team came back empty-handed as all clues about what had happened there had been erased, even the camera system had been removed. Hearing that I asked them to look for information about the people who were lying here. Even though some were almost unrecognizable, we still managed to find their information. As I predicted, they were all villains and illegal scientists. Sir, we found something. Hearing that, my face automatically turned towards the direction of the voice. One of the members of the team responsible for searching the bodies was next to a body in a lab coat. He was holding 2 things that I didn't recognize from afar. What did you find? There are 2 pen drives, sir. Upon hearing that, I immediately sent the investigation team. Hey you, bring a notebook quickly. This could be the clues we need. Finally we found something. The person I ordered soon brought what was requested. We connected one of the pen drives and soon we saw what was written in the file. A live Nomoa project. Clicking to open a lot of information appeared. Soon I started to read, while reading Ingenium stood behind me along with his team, as if he wanted to know something. After a few minutes of reading my complexion turned black. Ingenium was squeezing his hand very tightly which even resulted in blood coming out of his hand, but Big Shot, member from the Idatan team, couldn't stand what he saw and punched the wall so hard that it broke. These bastards! Running tests like these, creating a living weapon. Bullshit! Calm down Big Shot, let's find out more about them. It was Ingenium who spoke, even though he tried to appear calm, and his helmet didn't show his expression. His hands conveyed everything we needed to know. He was irritated, but there was nothing he could do at the moment. 100 children were sacrificed for this project but only 3 survived. That was pretty brutal. Even irritated, I continued to read the content. Apparently 2 other children died because of it, leaving only 1. Everyone looked at the screen wanting to know who was the child who had survived all these inhuman tests, and with that, an identification was presented. Next to it there was a photo of the child. I widened my eyes. The Idatan team did the same. After all, they could not forget the child they saw in the middle of the bodies. Name, Project Alpha. Age, 5. Blood type, AB. Quirk, Sand Control. About, Project Alpha, a child who survived all the serums and tests done with his body, has red hair and light green eyes. His genetically modified body has greater strength than most humans. His general aspects are all superhuman. His quirk allows him to control the sands, which he has perfect control over. An extremely obedient and calm child. He speaks little, but only speaks what is necessary. When I saw the information, my eyes were in even deeper shock. the Idatan team also seemed like this, because now we understand why there was so much sand scattered around the place. With that my mind went through great shocks and several possibilities emerged. What if I didn't dare complete that thought, but looking at the faces of the heroes it was more than clear that they thought the same, so I immediately ordered investigation team. See if any of the bodies have sand inside, as deep as possible. Upon hearing that, they nodded and began to open a body that was more damaged at the moment. Even though I didn't want to do it here, it was still necessary to prove my possibility. When they opened the person's belly, we saw large amounts of sand, the person in which Alpha used the sand coffin. That scared everyone around, especially those who had read what was in the notebook with me, which I didn't want to think about if it was fulfilled. Especially remembering when the boy was totally intact in the middle of so many bodies. What if he was the one who killed everyone? Thinking about it, I felt that the situation was already beyond my control, so I gave a direct order. Attention all teams. Try to contact the hospital where the boy was transferred. We must transfer it to another location before he wakes up. Quickly. With my order everyone jumped into action. Amidst this chaos I contacted the chief of police. Sir. What happened, Detective Naomasa? Any results on the investigation? Sir, I ask for your help immediately. The situation has already lost control. We find out who is behind the massacre. We need you to contact All Might and Nizu as soon as possible. This is a very serious matter and they will definitely agree. The boss suddenly got serious at the mention of All Might and Nizu. For the two of them to be contacted means there's a great deal of urgency going on. Tell me in more detail, detective. Who caused all this slaughter? All for one. Worst, sir. All for one is someone capable of anything, but he wasn't responsible this time. Worse than all for one. Who is this person? At that moment I found it kind of impossible to answer. How could I say that it was all done by a child? A massacre of 40 people made by a child. I wouldn't believe it in my wildest dreams if I didn't see it in person today. Detective, answer me. With no escape I had to say what is most believed to be the unreal. It was a child, sir. A child? Yes, sir, a 5-year-old. Detective Naomasa, are you kidding me? Is it a prank? No, that it wasn't funny at all. No, sir, this was all caused by a child. She was an experiment created by All for One. After my words the call was ended. Time skipped 2 hours. He was now in a room, along with 4 people, All Might, Nizu, Ingenium and Kenji Tsugarame, the chief of police. So Naomasa, I hope the situation is as you told me. Yes, sir. Everyone had their eyes on me. The tension in the room was apparent to even the dumbest person. As everyone arrived they were given a briefing on the case. Everyone was seated at an oval-shaped table. I pressed a button and soon images appeared. In those 2 hours we were able to summarize a lot of the information that was on the pen drives. It basically talks about an experiment that lasted 5 years, and the owner of the project is All for One. When I said that, all eyes showed a bit of shock. After all, it was All for One we were talking about, so I continued. From the notes of the scientist called Sejao, he said that the project was made to create a perfect and emotionless weapon. At the beginning of the project there were 100 human fetuses, but through the tests and serum they used, only 3 were left. When everyone heard it, Nizu and Kenji were silent, but I could see their irritation in their eyes. Ingenium, even though he already knew about it, still had his brows furrowed heavily. All Might was the one who showed the most irritation. Thank you that he knows how to control himself, because if not, this building would already be destroyed. He was clenching his fists, and his face showed a lot of different emotions. In 4 years there was only one child left who was named Alpha. According to Sejao's words, Alpha only woke up for the first time at 4 years old, which we suspect must be due to his quirk. So many experiments and tests carried out on his entire body, Alphaville acquired superhuman aspects. I believe that if we only consider his physical abilities, he would be able to defeat many heroes and villains, even so he does not reach the level of the top 30 heroes. The boy's real danger is your quirk. When I said that, everyone was surprised. After all, a child without using his powers was stronger than professional heroes, but wasn't that even the real danger? How strong was the child? Hearing about the tests done on the child, all might seemed shaken. I didn't say anything about it as it's something he must overcome alone. Pressing a button, a camera image appeared showing the boy lying on a bed with an eraser head on his side. The whole room was made of pure metal for safety. The boy's quirk was given the name Control of the Sands, a self-explanatory name. Again, from Dr. Sejiao's notes, we consider that this boy has the ability to turn an entire city into a large desert. This is just a guess through what was documented in the file written by Sejiao. Everyone in the room was shocked. They thought it was acceptable that the boy could be stronger than some professional heroes, but his quirk being able to wipe out entire cities is something they never imagined. They thought it might be some kind of joke, but my straight face took from these thoughts. Right after that, I switched the image to when we found him. In the notes it was said that Alpha was a very obedient and quiet being, but when we found him he was in that condition, surrounded by bodies. This led us to think that the boy ended up going crazy at that moment and killing everyone in the place, so we isolated him in a special area along with Eraserhead, because when he wakes up he may still be crazed. Finishing talking, I went back to the real-time camera recording. I wasn't looking at the projection, but as I looked at the people in front of me, several faces were shocked. Ingenium's face and the boss's face were sweating profusely. All Might, who was sitting, got up quickly and said, "Where is he?" I didn't understand, but I just replied, "In special room number 47. So All Might ran out of the room. Ingenium, seeing that, decided to follow All Might. Nizu was sitting, drinking coffee while eating cheese calmly. The boss, I saw my confusion pointed to my back and I soon understood. Turning around quickly I saw that Alpha had awake. At that moment I immediately ran to get to the place. Alpha awakens, Garra's awakening. Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. I had said that there would be 2 chapters this week, but unfortunately there were some unforeseen events in my personal life and I can only post 1 chapter this week. Sorry. The next chapter will finally be a POV of the protagonist. I will correct the errors later. This chapter has 2,8k of words. Enjoy. Spoiler. Chapter 5, Traumas. Edit. Oh, how good it is to be young. Kenji, let's go too. Sigh asterisk. Of course. Oh, and carry me. You are not a child. Ah. Let's go with my little legs. I'm going to be a long time, and you wouldn't want to carry a cute mouse like me. Sigh asterisk. Okay, let's follow them soon. Yay. 5. Traumas. POV MC. I woke up looking at a metal ceiling. I didn't understand what was going on, but I think I understood most of it. I was in a capsule. I woke up and they took me out. I looked around and saw that a person was staring at me cautiously. I didn't understand, but lifting the upper part of the body I soon felt a huge pain in my head and in the whole body, which forced me to lie down on the bed again. I couldn't help but scream as I held my head tightly. The person next to me who was sitting quickly got up. He moved as far away from me as possible. His eyes started to glow red. The pain only lasted a few seconds, but for me it was an eternity. When the pain finally stopped, the world started to speed up for me. His brain was so active from the memories coming back that it made him slow down the world around him. I looked around again and ran to the nearest bucket. I threw up. My mind was working very quickly and soon all the information that was confusing to me was organized. As I processed it I ended up throwing up again. I killed people. That was something I would never be able to do, soon. Thoughts raced through my mind. It was my fault. No, it wasn't my fault, it was the person controlling the body. But, the body is mine, so the blame lies with me. I was just an ordinary college student who only wanted a good life for myself, but I killed people. It doesn't matter if they're bad or not, I just killed someone. He remembered his memories, even the smell and feeling in the place. that's why he's so over the top about it, he's feeling like he just killed someone. My mind was overheating with guilt and various thoughts, but suddenly my mind calmed down. A/N, he was created to be a Nomua, so obviously they would test his brain to force him to calm down at certain times. Even so, the guilt has not disappeared, and when I look down I have the slight impression of seeing the faces of those I killed. Is this the burden of killing someone? Suddenly a voice brought me out of my inner reflections. Have you calmed down? When I heard that, my face automatically turned to the owner of the voice. He was the same person who was watching me before. What differentiated him from his previous look is that now his eyes were scarlet red, and his bands he had wrapped around the neck were moving. If they told me we were in Naruto, I would say with absolute certainty that he was part of the Uchiha clan, but from my analysis I understood that I was in the world of My Hero Academia, the recently released anime of heroes and villains. I only watched 3 episodes. What is your name? The voice asked me. I didn't answer because I was suspicious. Is he a hero or a villain? I don't know for sure, but I answered his question with another question. Who are you? The person scratched his head and his eyes returned to normal, seeing me completely calm. When his eyes returned to their original color, I felt a connection with the sand. I wanted to test this sensation because it seemed to be a lot of fun, but this was not the right moment. With this, the fact that my connection to the sand only came back when the eyes of the person in front of me returned to normal. This made me assume that his quirk has the ability to cancel the use of quirks of others just by looking at people. I see, your reaction is normal. Sorry for being rude. My name is Shota Aizawa. As you can see around, we are in a special room in a police station. And you, boy? Do you have a name? I was silent. I didn't remember my name, and the only things I remembered in my past life was your lived experiences, watching anime, movies, playing games and more. I can't remember my name, or even remember of my family. Became impossible. I was silent for a full minute, but when I looked at my face being reflected in the metal, I had made up my mind. I was named Project Alpha, but you can now call me Garra. Garra, hey? It's a good name. Suddenly the room opens with a loud bang, and with that a voice was heard entering the room like a normal person. Since when is it normal to enter like that? You almost destroyed the door. I looked at him closely and recognized him right away by his height and smile. He is the character known as the world's #1 hero, All Might. Seeing him, all my caution was gone. I knew instantly that I was safe after all. In anime, All Might was portrayed as an extremely good person, and that calmed me down a bit. Hello, Alpha Shounen. I am All Might. You don't have to worry anymore, because I am here. Even with this introduction my face was unchanged. If it was earlier, maybe I would have laughed at his entrance, but with guilt in my heart and the bitter feeling coming from the experiments on me, I couldn't do anything but stare at him. Aizawa also didn't express anything on his face and just showed a tired face. When All Might saw that, he ended up being a little embarrassed. I felt sorry for his situation, but what I thought before is still in my mind. With the arrival of All Might and his failed entrance, the room was completely quiet. In the place was developing a quiet atmosphere where no one said anything. Until Turbo Hero, Ingenium has arrived with full speed. With the arrival of that voice, another bam was heard. Again the door was opened strongly. I confess that the door seemed to be miserable now. Door, please help me. Don't worry, young man, you are safe now. Who? Emotional damage. After this moment the room again fell silent, and in front of me was All Might and the one I identified as Ingenium in a corner of the room wailing. I was impressed. After all, this only really happened in anime, because for me, this is more shameful than their input. Aizawa, who was next to me, tried again to start a conversation, which I accepted. If we didn't say anything, the atmosphere would get more awkward and uncomfortable. So Garra, do you remember anything? What was going on there, and why were you surrounded by corpses? And also that surprise of yours when you see All Might, seems like you've heard of him before. Aizawa got straight to the point. When I heard that, I ended up feeling guilty again, even though Ingenium and All Might's actions made me feel lighter. When I was reminded about it by Aizawa, my face darkened. I didn't know what expression I was wearing, but probably it was threatening as Izawa's eyes turned red again. Ingenium and All Might also turned serious. I believe that by being here you already know my origin. Before I passed out I was training with one of the people in the laboratory when I suddenly lost consciousness when the person said something offensive. When I woke up I was in the middle of several bodies, I went into shock and several memories entered my mind. I killed them all. It was not what I wanted but I ended up killing them. Whether or not this guilt will never pass, you will probably arrest me, won't you? I accept any punishment. The more I spoke I was sure my face became more and more miserable. Everyone was silent as I spoke but suddenly All Might came and hugged me. No need to worry kid, you don't have to carry it all by yourself, after all, I am here. So don't blame yourself and let's carry this burden together. Those words if they were said in a moment of pure despair would probably make me cry, but hearing that felt some weight lifted from my shoulders. So this is what it feels like to trust someone. Thanks. Coming out of All Might's embrace I answered his other question, I don't know how but my brain feels different, I can think faster and react much faster than any normal person. This was impossible for me before, which I find an interesting feeling, made up an excuse to pretend about why I knew All Might. I know All Might because they told me I was created to defeat All Might. When they heard that, they became more serious and stopped with the silly smile they were making, because they know that defeating All Might is not an easy thing, but even so they are creating weapons to defeat him. This just shows that I will not be the last to be created. Interesting. While everyone was in their personal reflections someone spoke, looking at the door we noticed two people standing still, a mouse and a dog man. I was surprised, I never imagined that I would see something like that with my own eyes. It made me think about how amazing quirks are and mysterious, making me want to study them. And who are you? I asked without much caution because I had All Might by my side and he doesn't seem to have the wound that was previously shown in the anime. This made me relax even more. In response to my question the humanoid mouse scratched its fur and replied. Hello Garra, I'm Nizu, let's say I'm someone who went through the same thing as you. I'm the director of UA, the greatest hero academy in the world. Nice to meet you. I'm Kenji Tsugarame, chief of police. Nice to meet you young man. We have a lot of things to discuss about you. Time skip 30 min, sorry but I'm not good at creating discussions. After 30 minutes it was decided through the efforts of All Might and Nizu that I would be under the custody of the two, because they found me to be an unpredictable being. I was placed under extreme surveillance, which I do not find at all uncomfortable because I would take the opportunity to study about subjects related to the quirks and society. The study of society was something imposed on me, as I couldn't go around without knowing how the most basic rules work. So we come to the final topic. Who would be responsible for me? Now that we've discussed most things I'd like to know who the boy should be with. Kenji was the one who spoke first, obviously because he is the person closest to the law. He has the necessary knowledge, not counting Nizu who is basically not part of any public body. If I may, Kenji, I would like to take care of him. All Might was the one who said it. I believe that because he felt responsible for my situation he wanted to take care of me, which I find very difficult to do. Sorry All Might, but you are no good as a father. We know that since you are the #1 hero, you have a lot of responsibilities to the population, plus you can't even take care of yourself. As I suspected he was turned down, All Might was shocked and depressed by the rating they gave him, but I didn't care. Ingenium kept patting All Might on the back trying to comfort him. Ingenium was the next to speak. What if my parents adopted him? He could stay with me and my brother. Because he has someone his age, I believe he will adapt better to the current situation, if he has nothing against it. I thought it was a smart idea if I was a normal kid. He's 24 years old mentally, but I'm long past the mentality of one, so I would decline the proposal myself. Denied. Kenji was the first to speak again. I understand that you would like him to live a normal life, Ingenium, but pay attention. When you found him he was surrounded by bodies, which he himself assumed he had killed. If he ever again entered a berserk state, as We provisionally call it, and attacked your family while you are not around? Would you like to have your family taken away by him? Kenji. All Might was the one who screamed when he heard Kenji's speech. His words were harsh but still true. What if I attacked his family? An innocent family, very different from the other people I've killed. Could I handle the guilt of killing them? Ingenium kept his head down, not knowing what to say. He just stood there. And probably in his mind the question arose, what if he attacked my family? I understand that my words can be harsh, All Might, even in front of the child, but it is still a possibility. It is very dangerous and it is still risky for the people around. I know it can be difficult to accept, but it had to be said. When they finished talking, they looked at me. I was calm, as if nothing was happening. This left them a little shocked, as they expected some reaction from me, but these answers were already expected by me, after all. Not even I believe that there won't be one next time I will enter that state. Seeing them without understanding, I raised my arm and spoke. How about leaving me in Nizu's care initially? With him I can quickly learn about how life is in the country and how the rules work. I know that you are afraid of what might happen with me around. I don't judge you. That's why I'm giving my opinion. I stay under surveillance in the UAA place specially made for me while I'm watched 24 hours a day, when I finish my studies and after having some time without losing consciousness and the monster killing everyone around, I'll be adopted by Aizawa and I'll keep him watching over me as I go out on the streets. From my analysis in the initial encounter with him, I saw that his quirk has the ability to cancel other abilities when looking, so I follow Aizawa to all the places. Simple. No. Upon hearing my proposal, everyone became thoughtful. Aizawa seemed to have an even more tired face with my comment involving him, but that was the best thing I could think of at the time and the least risky one too. I accept your proposal. You will have 2 months with Nizu in the UA, until then try to adapt to life in society and understand it. With that I will allow you to leave with parole, and as you said before, we will make you be adopted by Aizawa, as he is the best option to keep an eye on you. With that final decision, the meeting was finally over. Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. Sorry for the delay, but I've been busy these days with a lot of things that happened and work to do. I have a plan for the rest of the story, but I feel a little lost after this chapter. Comment here for me. No, should I do a time skip to the beginning of the canon? Or should I continue the story with him as a 5-year-old? I personally think it's better to continue the story without the time skip, but I confess that I'll be a little lost on the way. Anyway, comment here and I'll take it into account. This chapter have 2,7k of words. Enjoy. Edit. At the end of the conversation everyone decided to leave and let me rest a little, but before that All Might again slammed the door with a loud bang, which made me sweat a little. Can you leave normally? I swear I'm listening to her sadness. Door, please no more. Again the door was opened because All Might had forgotten something. Door, I resign. With that the door finally came off the nails and fell to the ground. 6. A curious stalker. POV MC. Since the meeting, 3 months have passed. As it was said in it, I was under Nizu's care. While I understood about the day-to-day in this world, I understood the most basic things, about the rules of living in society, the responsibilities of a hero and villain laws, the Meta Liberation Army, the Hero Commission. In the last month I had to live with Aizawa. I noticed how the hero's routine was. His code name was Eraserhead, a hero who works mainly at night and works as a teacher at UA during the day. He lives in a small apartment, which when I arrived I swore he had just been bought for his cleanliness. But the truth is, he can't spend much time indoors, so it's plausible to be clean. But his situation was in the past, as I had to be under his watch almost the entire day and follow him even during his missions. Kenji and the Hero Commission decided to temporarily retire Aizawa, until I was given under my control. Even, I believe they did the right thing, because between a being that can destroy an entire city when enraged or villains that can easily be caught by other heroes, the choice was obvious. Because of this, Aizawa only works as a teacher at UA. During his work I spend my time in the principal talking with Nizu or eating in the cafeteria. Nizu is a good guy to spend time and talk with. He knows a lot about biology and others, that helps me in my study about biology in this world. Aizawa had a lot more sleep and consequently he looks like someone totally different besides being more cheerful. Back to the topic, in the 2 months that I was unable to use my quirk I decided to go deep about 2 things that have been consuming me. My berserk status and how I got here. The second is a little easier to know than the first, besides probably having a deep connection with him. First thought, I clearly remember the conversation I had on a forum site with a person called I Am God. I thought the name was peculiar but I never thought it would be in the literal sense. I made a friendship with one of those famous Robs, something cliché that happens most of the time in fan fics. It made me automatically think of my berserk state or berserk mode. What if it's the other thing I'm thinking? Well, for the berserk state there are 2 options about his motive. The first is that Rob planned this so that he would free me and get my memories back, which would be the best option and the one I want to believe it was. Since the second option is a possibility that frightens me. The second option would be through the action of a third individual, who I believe knows who he is. Shikaku, one of the tailed beasts in the world of Naruto. This is a viable possibility because I clearly remember mentioning his name to Rob. That turns out to be an option about the slaughter incident. Again, I wouldn't think it was a bad thing to have a tailed beast in me, if I was able to have a good conversation or know its personality and past. The only thing I remember about Shikaku is in the fight between Garra and Naruto, that Garra freed Shikaku for a few moments using a jutsu, and from what I saw at the time, Shikaku really likes his freedom. I tried to communicate with him in my world interior but I didn't get a response from him. It made me hopeful that it was just something in my head and I ended up not thinking about it. A/N, this is just the MC's point of view, don't forget, and it's also already obvious that he has Shikaku, but because of his trauma he is asking him not to have it, because Shikaku can act uncontrollably and kill several people like Sukuna and Itadori in the Shibuya arc. In the month that I followed Aizawa in his hero duties, I saw how incompetent they were. Instead of causing more serious injuries to the villains so that they never think of committing another crime, they just try to capture them with the minimum of injuries. I understand that the definition of a hero in the eyes of the public must be this, but I don't accept their way. A/N, what I mean is that he respects heroes but doesn't agree with the way they act. My thoughts are more connected to the vigilantes, people who fight crime as heroes should. Even without having the necessary license to act, they always end up leaving the villains with a few broken bones to remember never to commit another crime. If I were to choose to be a hero or a vigilante, I would many times prefer to be a vigilante, even if it were against the law. I would have more freedom. Unfortunately I can't do anything for now, because I'm still under surveillance. Time skip. It's been 3 months since then. In that time I continued to have the same daily routine, and finally, because there was no incident related to me in that period of time, a message arrived on Aizawa's cell phone that says I can go out freely. One person was disheartened by this. Aizawa, because I have more freedom he will go back to hero work and no longer need to watch over me. He may not be a good father or caretaker but he knows how to assume his responsibilities. After a long time of waiting I can finally leave the house by myself. I got lost. Aizawa lives very close to UA so we don't go through many places before getting there, and in his hero work he just participates in special operations so we always come home quickly. Even if I have a super brain I won't remember many things that happened a long time ago, and mainly that I didn't give any importance. Besides that we always go out at night, which makes it difficult to see. Seeing my current situation, I wanted to use the sand in the gourd on my back to fly and see my current location, but I know that using quirk without having a license in public areas is prohibited. The reason I have the original Garra sand gourd now is because I think it's cool, plus on account as long as I followed Aizawa on his missions I was allowed to carry a certain amount of sand for my protection. Not only that, I also coated myself with a thin but solid layer of sand, creating a shell for safety, even though I doubt they'll be able to get past my automatic defense. Plus there's more to it than the boss the police did not consider that I had the ability to use sand from solid objects, cement, earth, basically everything that has sand in its composition. Glass is not considered to contain sand, just saying so that no one talks about it in the future. So the whole city can turn to sand anytime I want. While Garra wanders off. Police headquarters. Boss. Garra left alone. What? Izawa was supposed to accompany him. Contact the hero closest to him to follow him. We can't let him go alone. Sir. His closest hero is 20 minutes away. What? Call him quickly. Please let nothing happen in that time. Yes, sir. There was a robbery at a store next to him. Me in my mouth. Back to MC, POV MC. Now I am observing everything around me with extreme curiosity, after all. By the current date we are almost 2 centuries in the future compared to my previous world. I looked around me and I was amazed, not with the buildings but with the people, how it was to be expected from a world that for me only existed in anime and manga. Here just looking at the street, I see several people with different colored hair, and with different shapes, person with long arms, bare head, and others, and the people around act as if it were something normal, in addition to having several beauties walking the streets normally. As I looked around, a voice pulled me out of my thoughts. Hey, are you okay? Upon hearing that, I took a quick step back cautiously, which made the person who spoke to me get a little scared. I was so focused on seeing people that I forgot where I was. This is what happens when you take a hikikomori out of the house. Paying attention now to the girl in front of me, she had light blue hair, big blue eyes and pale skin. She was also wearing a school outfit. That's what I found on the wiki about her information. The girl was a little shorter than me. I am 146 centimeters, 47 feet, the same height as Garra in his first appearance. Because of the experiments my body has grown considerably. Image here. She would definitely become very beautiful in the future, but as I studied her figure, she sent me a flurry of questions as she circled me. Hey, what's that gourd on your back for? How old are you? Is your red hair natural? What is your name? You look the same age as me. My name is Nejire Hado. Nice to meet you. Hearing all that, my expression was surprised and my mind confused. I interacted with very few people, and also I was never so surrounded by people. The ones I interacted with the most were Nizu, All Might, and Izawa. Then out of nowhere an extremely sociable, energetic, and curious person appears to talk to me. This was too much for my reclusive heart, and my mind overheated. Suddenly my mind calmed down and my expression returned to being neutral and silent. The girl, seeing my sudden change of emotions, became even more curious. Hey, how did you do that? Can you teach me? Calm down. With a single word I finally managed to interrupt her. I was never someone so social in my past life, and I like to be alone at home, and in my first adventure in this world I already came across this type of person, one of my biggest enemies these days, a social being to the extreme. From her height, features, and clothing, I believe she must be around 12-13 years old. My name is Garra. Nice to meet you, Hado-san. I immediately got a response from her. Garra, hey? It's a good name. No need to call me Hado, just Nejire is fine. So, Nejire-san, what are you doing here? Ah. I was walking with some of my colleagues when I saw you standing here. I thought you were curious, so I'm here. As she spoke, I realized that 2 boys were approaching us, but before they arrived, we heard several sounds that resembled gunshots in the vicinity. I looked towards the direction of the sound and saw a store being dominated by a group of villains. It was a rich-looking store, so that was probably what caught the attention of the villains. While analyzing all that, I felt something grab my shirt. It was Nejire. She seemed to be a little scared, but by the determination in her eyes it looked like she wanted to face them. His friends did the same. Look, with that I saw that the 3 wanted to be heroes. I smiled a little and put my right hand on his head and said, "Don't worry." So I walked calmly towards the store. Nejire seemed to want to follow me, but just stood there watching me. As I walked, people ran in the opposite direction of mine, probably to stay at a safe distance. While I walked, people stared at me. I don't judge them, because I must have the appearance of a child, Garra in the Chunin exam. As I approached calmly, 2 vehicles appeared in front of the store and the police already got out of the car and hid behind it, while one of the police tried to negotiate with them using a megaphone. 3 people left the store. And with hostages, it was a child and 2 adults. I got to the side of the vehicles and when I was approaching, one of the policemen stopped me. "Hey, boy! Get out of here, this place is dangerous." I know your concern was genuine, but soon the radio in your vest said something. "You can let him through." I recognized the voice, it was Kenji, and without a choice the policeman let me pass. The audience was incredulous and soon thought, is he a hero? After that they got excited and some started recording the scene. Well, what do we have here? A hero? This also didn't go unnoticed by the villains, and the one in the middle who seems to be the leader was the one who spoke. "Who knows? You better stop there. If not, I'll shoot the hostages." I didn't listen and kept walking calmly. TCH, playing hard to get high? Shoot him. The audience was startled, but I continued to walk. Just like that, gunfire sounds were heard again, after a big burst of gunfire, which raised dust in the air. The sounds finally stopped, and everyone looked at the place in shock. "Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here." I got a little excited about the previous chapter and ended up finishing this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm honestly having a hard time thinking of this story as no harem, but I'll do my best to make it that way. As you can see, Nejire Hato, our curious little stalker, appeared on the scene. I was a little confused on how to put it there, but in the end everything worked out. I want everyone to understand that this can be an O, and that not everything will follow the original script of the work. That's it, until next time. This chapter have 2,4k of words. Enjoy. 7. Sabaku no Garra, the Big 3. Narrator POV. What the hell is this? The leader of the villains said, scared when he saw what was in front of him. An oval-shaped wall was there where the boy was. Everyone looked at the wall in surprise, because the bullets that were used were stuck in the wall. So the wall created a crack in which the figure of the person that everyone imagined to be a hero appeared. There everyone noticed something. Sand image here. That's all. After these words, the wall that had withstood several shots fell apart and surrounded the young man in a rhythmic movement. This left the bandits scared of what was to come. "Do not approach or we will kill the hostages." They now pointed their guns at the hostages again. The adults were scared, but the child who was with them seemed extremely calm, which confused one of the henchmen. Meanwhile the sand that surrounded the boy now went at high speed, surrounding the hostages and taking them out of the place. The young man soon spoke. "Idiots, reload your weapons before threatening them." Upon hearing this they noticed, they were so desperate seeing the previous scene that they completely forgot to reload. Seeing their current situation, the leader took a step forward. "Looks like you made me do this." "Ooh. The boss is going to use his quirk." Soon their leader began to increase in size, as well as seemed to become physically stronger, and his body turned red. A/N, if you want an approximation, see Red Hulk as an example. After his transformation, he ran forward towards the young hero, coming to his side, then threw a punch that made a small gust of wind, but before reaching the young man, the sand that surrounded him again created a wall to prevent his attack. A/N, curiosities about Garra's absolute defense. Many think that his defense comes from Shikaku, but it's nothing said. His absolute defense is just the will of the original Garra's mother wanting to defend him. That's basically it. Even with that blow that made the wind go in all directions, it wasn't able to make the sand move. The boy just gave the villain a small look and started to walk calmly, as if he didn't have anyone trying to hurt him. He went towards the store calmly under the shocked looks of the public. Even so, the villain did not give up and continued to try to punch him more and more. But he was unsuccessful. Every time he tried, another wall was formed to protect him. The boy, upon reaching the door, finally stopped and looked at the villain. "I gave you time to run away, so why didn't you run away?" The villain did not pay attention to the words, and continued to try to punch him. when he saw that the young man sighed tiredly and suddenly the sand that previously protected the punches involved both arms of the villain. Sand coffin. The villain began to feel a extreme pain, he began to scream but the audience did not understand because for them the hero had only prevented him from using his arms. Suddenly the ground turned into sand and the giant was sunk in it leaving only his head. Outside, he did the same with the other two henchmen who accompanied their leader. The audience was again shocked, but soon they cheered up and started shouting encouragement for the hero, if we can call him that. Wait here for a bit, I'll be right back. So the hero entered the store, with that several sounds were heard from inside the store, mainly gunshot sounds. After a few minutes he finally left, accompanied by two other people unharmed and the two bandits who levitated with his body suspended in the air by the sand that surrounded them. So all the bandits were arrested and taken away by the police. The boy who had caused all this was calmly leaving the scene, but all the people watching soon surrounded him and even journalists appeared on the scene. Yet no one stopped him on his way, everyone looked in a certain direction and fell silent. While opening an area for victims, the hero continued on his way without interruption. Thanks for saving us, sir. My name is Momo Yaeorozu. Thank you very much indeed, hero. Thanks. 4x. Everyone around smiled at them, and the one who thought he was a hero turned and looked at them, then he let out a big smile and touched the child's head, after which he turned again and continued on his way towards a hole in the ground that was caused when he buried the leader of the bandits. Some women and even the girl who was saved had their faces a little red when they saw that scene, but the girl who called herself Momo soon spoke again. Sir, what is your name? Those words made everyone there pay full attention to the young man. Again, after all, this was the first time they saw him acting in the city, so it could be a debut of a new hero in the city. The said young man stopped his path again and looked back. He then made a series of words with his mouth. Even without making a sound, some people understood his words. Sabaku no Garra. After that, the boy's figure completely turned into sand and covered the huge hole he had caused in the place, which made everyone even more shocked. Police headquarters. Stop the request made to the professional hero. Yes, sir. Everyone in the room smiled when they saw the cameras that recorded what happened live. Their smiles are just because they know that the boy has no bad intentions against society and wants to help people like a hero. Let's let him free a little this time. One of the people who was there monitoring Garra said something that would spoil the whole atmosphere there. But boss, the public will relentlessly look up to him as a hero, plus he used his quirk in a public area even though he knew the rules. Forget it, I'm going to pay him a visit tomorrow, for today we'll leave him free. Sir, wouldn't it be better to call Eraserhead to follow you? It's the first time he goes out in society and he doesn't know the city, he can get lost on the way. Contact Eraserhead, he will be his guide on his adventure through the city. POVMC. After diverting attention from me through a sand clone, I continued on my way to explore the city. I looked back and saw the people still shocked by my clone. As I looked at that mass of shocked people, my eyes met with one in specific. When I saw that she noticed me, I started walking without stopping and quickly in a random direction. The person who had met eyes with me continued to follow me, and after a long period of time she finally managed to keep up with me. Hey, how did you do that? How does your quirk work? You are a hero? Why are you ignoring me? Hey! You were impressive back there, defeating all the villains. It was Nejire, the hyper-social being I wanted to ignore. She's a little annoying for her tireless questions, and also for being very energetic. Hey, can you stop following me? It's already getting boring. When I said that, she got completely discouraged. Besides looking like she was going to cry at any moment, the people around me looked at me irritated with the face that obviously said apologize. I sighed and said, okay, you can follow me. Immediately her face showed a smile and she brightened up completely. Yay! I was manipulated by a child. That was the thought of everyone around. During this small interaction, Nejire's two friends appeared, even tired of Running around trying to keep up with me, one of the boys seemed excited to talk to me. Hello hero. My name is Mirio Togata, nice to meet you. Oh, and sorry. About my friend, she is very curious. Hey. I'm not that curious. You are. 3x. Hi, my name is Tamaki Amajiki. Mirio, I can't. Let's go just a little longer. You can do it. And nice to meet you. You got Tamaki. The two introduced themselves, one was quite excited, while the other looked like he was being suffocated. I analyzed their figures and saw that the boy named Mirio had blonde hair that extended almost to his waist. I was curious because he was a boy, or that's what his body showed, but looking around I saw that as before, everyone on the street was passing by us. Normally, I'll consider for now that large amount of hair to be part of his quirk. As for the other boy, Tamaki, I don't have many things to say about him. Just that he's like a cheap copy of Sasuke from the world of Naruto. He has a lot of identical things with Sasuke. His hair and way, even if shy, is very similar to Sasuke. Mirio, does your quirk have something to do with your hair? When I said that, Nejier seemed to burst out laughing and Tamaki was holding back from laughing. Mirio looked quite embarrassed and scratched the back of his head. When he was about to explain, Nejier interrupted his speech. No. Mirio's quirk always makes him lose his clothes when used completely, so from what Tamaki said to me when we first met is that Mirio lets his hair grow from a young age so that when he reaches a certain height he cuts it. He does it to that when he goes to a hero school, he'll make his costume out of his hair, so his hero costume won't come off his body. Thanks for the explanation, Nejier. Mirio looked sad but thanked him anyway. Meanwhile I analyzed what Nejier had said, so according to Nejier, Mirio's quirk makes him lose his clothes when he uses his quirk every time. Surely he would be branded a pervert by society if he happened to become a hero. I was snapped out of my thoughts when Nejier again started asking endless questions. Hey, how many years have you been a hero? Are you a hero trainee? You look about the same age as us. Is that a side effect of your quirk? What? In the face of this barrage of questions, I was again helpless, but luckily Tamaki placed her hand on Nejier's mouth to stop her from continuing to speak. Nejier looked irritated with the act, but she understood and stopped talking. Around us, all the people looked to us strangely. How about we go somewhere more private to talk? Instantly Nejier raised his hand. I know a good cafeteria nearby, shall we? So, we moved to the cafeteria, sitting at the most separate table there. The three were in front of me, then the three made their orders, which I refrained from doing because I had no money. Well, the three of you were curious and full of questions for me, right? Well, I'll just announce that I'm not a hero and I didn't even study at UA or anything. I'll just say that I'm a special case. With that said, the three were shocked, as without even being a hero, I was allowed into the scene. This obviously made them curious about my identity. When they were going to ask more questions about it, the requests arrived. Nejier had ordered a piece of cake and an iced coffee, the other two were happy with juices and some snacks. I looked at this with a little desire to try it. After all, it's been a long time since I've had something like that, but I stopped myself from doing so. Him keeping a neutral face, so Mirio was the one who asked. So, how old are you? To allow you to get involved in the middle of combat against villains you must at least be an adult. I am 12 years old, Tamaki. And Nejier are 11 years old, A/N, they are in the month of October, so they're a year older, even though it's roughly 7 years before canon. I have 5 years of experience. This is amazing. Nejier. No, I'm 5 years old. After these words, the three who were drinking, automatically spit their drinks in my direction. The lid of the gourd turned into sand and prevented those drinks from ending up wetting me. The three stood up in unison and said at the same time. Are you 5 years old? 3x. Seeing their reactions of pure shock, which I obviously thought was normal, I grabbed my ID that I carry with me everywhere I go, an ID given to me by Kenji, they sat down as the whole cafeteria was looking at them. I placed the ID on top of the table where they could all see. There was written Special Unit on Police Surveillance. Name, Garra. Date of birth, 04/04/2XXX. ID, 1754-291-0408. This made them even more shocked by the phrase above, unit over surveillance. Seeing that they froze for a few seconds, I started to speak. You know, I'm probably the only one with an identity like that. I was given an identity like that because of my quirk. By the way, before I entered the scene, the policeman received a call through the radio that allowed me to involve. It was obvious that it wouldn't tell the whole truth about why I had it. They are too young, besides, they must not be that important to the history of this world, and I must have only met them by coincidence. A/N, yes, by coincidence you met characters important to the plot. Mirio was the first to recover from the shock, which made me think that he would be a good hero and that if necessary he would make drastic decisions quickly in a case of necessity or desperation. Soon he started to speak. What is your quirk? They obviously knew about the basics of my quirk from seeing my previous battle, but they don't know the full extent of it. I smiled a little at their question and with a mysterious tone I answered, creating an air of suspense. My quirk is, dash. As I spoke with enormous suspense, clearly seeing them swallow their own saliva, a hand touched my shoulder. There you are, you don't know how much Kenji called me to follow you. You caused us a headache, hey. Oh come on old man, I finally get to leave the house unattended for the first time. Come on, it wasn't even that serious. It wasn't even that serious. Heroes were alerted just by you leaving the house alone. The person who had arrived was Aizawa. He was scratching his head with the previous comments. From our interaction I already got used to calling him father, but I prefer to say old man, because that irritates him. I noticed his presence since he had entered the store, that's why he managed to touch my shoulder. After our little conversation, Aizawa noticed the three who were with me and said, not caring about the comments he had made earlier. Thanks for taking care of him while I was gone, he is a very troublesome person. It was nothing 3x. Now we are leaving, let me pay for you. Already? Too bad, it was nice talking to you guys, bye bye Garra. So, Aizawa and I left. After he paid the bill, the three who were with us still didn't seem to have fully recovered from the shock and were silent until we left. After walking a little while following Aizawa, he soon said, why are you faking it until now? My face that was showing joy and amusement, after his words, went back to being neutral and serious in addition to having no apparent expression. I didn't mind telling Aizawa the reason, since he discovered my pretense. The three of them are just innocent kids, they don't need to know much about me. I admit it was a little nice talking to others besides Nizu, all might, and you, but that's just it, we'll probably never meet again. Aizawa upon seeing that just sighed in defeat. From what it seemed a moment ago his eyes had a certain twinkle, hoping that I had started acting like a child my age. Unfortunately for him, I believe I will never act like that. Sigh. I see, if that's your choice I won't get involved. Yes, that's right, what I did was just pretend to be someone I'm not. We'll never meet again, my destiny is to be someone lonely and empty, if that's my destiny. Seen in a mirror in a random store, why do I look so sad? Seeing me like this Aizawa sighed again, but he didn't continue the subject. And we walked calmly in silence, enjoying the sun that was almost setting. After a few minutes of walking, we finally arrived at home. It was an ordinary house, with nothing of special, of course, if you don't count the huge amount of cameras inside it. It was a simple house, with a kitchen, living room, and 2 bedrooms. Time skip a few hours. At night, Aizawa finally left to do his hero work, so I decided it was time to act. My room had a camera monitoring the place, the only camera-free parts being the bathrooms, so, entering the bathroom, I created a sand clone to get out of the bathroom and go to sleep in bed, making them believe that there was me. With that, I used the window of the house to leave. Finally I will pay my sins, as a vigilante. Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. I tried hard to fix the mistakes, but in the end I decided to delete and do it again. It was already saved on my computer, so I didn't care too much. I tried my best to not leave mistakes. Now if I have any errors in writing or writing own program, I'm sorry, but I'm already almost late for my classes. This chapter have 3k of words, enjoy. 8. Warnings, News. Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. I'm writing this because I want to ask you some things. No, I'm not here to say that I'm going to stop writing the novel. I wanted to ask if you would like an alternate story of Garra, because I came thinking for a long time, Garra in Fate Zero. This is just what I thought for a moment, but it stuck in my head. This story would be more about Garra being summoned in place of Gilgamesh. It would be a shorter story and would give a little bit of spoiler about the current work. Anyway, would you like me to do it? To be honest, if they say yes, I'll start the project. I always write all my stories in the notebook, and then transfer them to the computer, making changes to the stories if necessary or adding more information, plus I still have to translate. This is a lot of work. Just to give you an idea, I have 3 ongoing stories in my notebook, but I just put Garra in MHA on the website. The reason is that the other 2 are very time-consuming projects to complete. If you want to know the names, I tell you. Ban in DXD, and Night Through the Multiverse. What kind of night is this? Comment XD, dash, both are fan FICS obviously, not just these. There are many stories I would like to write, but it would take a long time. Someday I will tell you the ideas of fan FICS I have. If you are enjoying my story, don't forget to rate. I will see everything and fix it if necessary. Dash. Edit. Oh. And a little spoiler of the next chapter. I never thought I'd be so happy, angry, and nervous at the same time, but it doesn't matter. Please, save the people. Chapter 8, All for One. Hey? Where I am? 9, All for One. Who are you? Some minutes later, dash. POVMC. Okay. I'm bored. I went looking to solve crimes that happened in the city at night, but there's nothing for me to do. It's human that all people need sleep, and that's no exception for All Might. When he is going to sleep even for a few hours, crime in the city increases exponentially. Because of that, there are many heroes who are specialized in just working on All Might's sleeping hours, so there's not much I can do at the moment. When a civilian appears in need of help, or a villain attacking a store and I'm about to get involved, a group of heroes appears on the scene and ends up preventing me from helping the citizens. When I was about to give up on the idea, something came to my mind. What if I go to another city? Even if it takes a few hours to go back and forth, I still have a lot of time. Until the time I usually wake up. Thinking about it, I started to go to the east area of the city, in search of going to another, but when I was about to leave the city limits, I hear a gigantic sound coming from the opposite direction. I was alerted because I believe that this can only be done by one person. Taking into account that through my vision it seems that it is on the other side of the city. All Might is awake. That means that something very serious has happened. After all, that would be his sleeping schedule. With that, I soon thought of only one thing: civilians. All Might, no matter who he was fighting, the civilians would be close to the area, and he wouldn't be able to concentrate fully on the battle. Thinking about it, I used my sand to the maximum, to fly towards the area as fast as possible. A/N, yes, he was walking on top of the buildings, because didn't want the cameras to see him flying, as that would alert Kenji. Police headquarters. Sir. The situation in the western part of the city is going out of control. Civilians can get hurt. We need heroes quickly to support the people. This is impossible. Almost all heroes are busy with villains in different areas. We can't ask them for support in time. We need to ask heroes from other cities for help, but it will take a long time. It looks like All for One has masterminded everything this time. While everyone was in despair seeing the situation they were in, suddenly one of the people who were monitoring the situation in the city said with a hopeful tone, something that no one expected. Sir. This is urgent and exciting. What it was? Put it on the main screen. When Kenji said that, the main screen, a large screen that allows everyone to see, appeared an image of a figure flying in the sky, surrounded by sand. Everyone when they saw that were shocked and understood the animation of the man. There is no one better to the urgent case they have now than him. The problem is, he can enter Berserk at any time and cause more chaos in the city. His name is Garra. This was a surprise for everyone, but at the same time, it was a ray of hope. For those present, after all, Garra had shown a hero's attitude, and that makes them put even more faith in him. I never thought I'd be so happy, angry and nervous at the same time, but it doesn't matter. Please, save the people. Narrator POV. Amidst the rubble were two powerful people with imposing auras that stand out in the middle of the fire. They were All Might and All for One. The two were quickly exchanging punches, which would leave anyone shocked by the sight. All Might seemed not to be focused on the fight, as he was constantly looking around him. This is boring. All for One. You're not giving your all in our fight, even though I thought you'd only look to me because I killed your master. It seems that you really care for the people around us. Hey! All for One. Shut up! How dare you talk about her? I will never forgive you. All Might. Oh, looks more excited. Talking about her really motivates you, hey? She was a foolish woman who followed silly ideals, only to have her end at my hands. All for One. I told you to shut up. Detroit Smash. While they exchanged punches, All for One continued to provoke All Might, because he knew that the foolish disciple of his old friend would never overcome him yet. For him this was just a joke, which he had devised. A play where All Might was the hero and he was the villain. During their battle, All for One noticed that all the punches All Might threw were directed towards the sky. This made him disappointed, so he had an idea and said, "These people are really bothering you, aren't they, All Might? If you want, I can fix this quickly." After these words, All Might had lost his concentration and noticed that All for One was pointing his fingers at a nearby family that was trying to escape the area. It wasn't just them, dozens of people were doing the same. In that direction, All Might, upon noticing the All for One's movement and its intention, ended up despairing. No. But it was too late. Soon, All for One's fingers fired beams of energy that had the purpose of killing people. The family in question that was running away looked at that. The figure that looked like the father placed himself in front of his wife and daughter. All Might at that moment wanted with all his might to prevent that, but it was in vain, because All for One wouldn't let him go save them, so he could only look sad and hopeful that it wouldn't hit them. When the beam was about to hit the family, suddenly, a big wall of sand formed and prevented people from getting hurt. A figure appeared behind it, saying to the family, "Are you okay?" Yes. Thank you very much. This is not the time for your thanks. Go. Get out of here while you still have time." It was Garra. With few words, the man and his family ran and fled the place, while the couple's daughter looked back, recording the figure of her savior in her memory. A/N, who will be the girl? You'll know that in the future. All Might, seeing him there, got emotional, while All for One found it very interesting. After all, Garra was his creation. All Might, don't worry about the civilians, I'll take care of them. Focus on your enemy. Without worrying about anything around, you can use all your strength. Thanks. With Garra's lines, All Might is finally able to focus solely on All for One. As All Might clearly remembers the detective's words, it is estimated that he can turn an entire city into a desert. So finally All Might can face All for One. POV MC. I was watching the whole area around, everything in ruins, all the buildings that seemed to exist here ended up destroyed. I observed the place even more and I saw that there were still hostages over there. I managed to guide them out, but I still didn't get close to the center of the chaos. When I arrived at the main location of the battle, I took the opportunity to observe a little of the situation. All Might was facing someone who is familiar to me, but I can't remember exactly where I had seen him. Meanwhile, civilians were fleeing desperately from the place, with All Might next to them. I believe they will be safe, so I focused on the fight. Again. But I saw that the villain was extending his hand to the public that was trying to escape. At first I didn't understand, but I began to reason, seeing how much All Might tried to stop him from extending his hand to the civilians. When I saw that, I thought quickly, and when finally the villain managed to extend his hand, 5 red lights shone on each of his fingers. When I saw that, my thought was directed to the people that were running away. So, with all my strength, at the highest speed my body could provide, at the last moment of impact I arrived in front of the couple that would be hit, creating a wall of sand that managed to block the attack. A/N, Garra has much stronger stats than many heroes, so this is normal. See my auxiliary chapter. Garra could have just created a barrier and not been in the public eye, but he was in a moment of desperation, so made him act that way. Plus I wanted to create a good entry for the character. Garra's focus is not on his physical power but on his quirk. There will be some moments where he will show off his physical abilities. After saying a few words to All Might, I continued to observe the battle. That was something I couldn't get involved with so easily. Meanwhile, I evacuated all the civilians from the rebel buildings by turning them into sand. Thus, I got an considerable amount of sand to carry out a plan I was thinking about, trapping and attracting. This was my plan. It wasn't the best method, but I needed to help All Might in some way, because I understood that I couldn't leave someone like the person we were facing walk on the streets. Thus, all the sand that had accumulated until now began to surround the area, creating a gigantic sphere with only All Might, the villain and me inside. All Might noticed what was happening, and for a moment he was shocked, as the other person looked at all those with interest not doing anything against me or preventing me from completing the sphere. Soon it was completed. So, why did you create this? Your effort is in vain. I can break this sphere anytime, unknown person. Then give it a try, but know that All Might will be right behind you. The person seemed irritated by my way of speaking, but he calmed down and thought about what I had done. TSC, so provoke him doesn't work. Hey. I see, now I see your plan. If I try to run away I'll have to focus on the sphere, and the moment I do that All Might will attack me. But I think you forgot one thing. What if I attack you? Will you be able to stop me? If I make you unconscious or tired, the sphere will fall apart. Let's try this hypothesis. You are not going anywhere. All Might. After saying these words, the villain started running at high speed towards me, and All Might followed him. Unfortunately All Might couldn't fully follow him, but I already expected that. Because of that I was leaning against a part of the sphere, where he could only attack me from the front. The villain ran at extreme speed, in which I could barely follow his movements. Concentrate, calm down, concentrate. You only have a short moment for it to work, Garra. With that thought of mine, I was totally focused. Suddenly my heart started beating faster and my mind seemed to overheat. My heart was beating so fast that the only thing I could hear was its sound. At that moment, everything seemed to have become slower, and when I looked forward I saw a fist very close to my face. My automatic defense would not be able to defend in time. At the speed at which the punch was approaching I saw that I had only 4 seconds in the form of a stop time before it hit me. Then, completely using the strength in my mind, I managed to make large spikes appear on the wall of the sphere around me, managing just before the punch hit me. Shortly after, the world started to return to its normal speed. The thorns were able to successfully stop the attack of the person in front of me by piercing his arm at different angles. He couldn't even attack with the other arm, as I had created a defense of thorns around me. This would be able to disable his arm for a long time. All Might appeared beside me as he punched the villain directly in the face. Texas smash! So the villain ended up flying away from both of us. When I was going to say something to All Might I felt a huge headache and my body felt like it was going to explode. I ended up falling on the floor, pale and sweating profusely. Are you alright, Garra Shounen? Before I said anything, clapping sounds were heard. Clap clap clap, as expected from my second creation. Suddenly this voice was heard along with clapping. When I looked towards the direction of the voice, the villain was fully recovered, but it didn't even look like he had suffered any damage. I was put to face the final boss on my first day as a vigilante. This guy entered phase 2. This was my thought as a gamer who encounters the last boss of the game in the first day of playing. Moments before you dodged my attack, you couldn't even keep up with my movements, but suddenly your heart accelerated and with that, blood rushed through your entire body and brain, allowing you to achieve frightening reaction speed, but in return, after that little moment, your body became weak and your brain overloaded. It seems to be your first time doing this, so your body has not got used to the reaction. A/N, like I said, I want to make everything as logical as possible. You can think of the MC's body as Sanji's body, a body that reacts to its owner's need, like a machine. As he was saying that, my body started to recover and the headache started to stop, so I quickly got up. Oh ho! As expected of my creation, you recovered pretty quickly. You should call me Dad, right? After all, I was the one who gave you life? Shut up, All for One. You would never be his father. All Might. Garra. I didn't know what to say about the argument that started in front of me. Suddenly the subject changed from a death fight to a fight about who my father is. It left me completely speechless, but I took advantage of this discussion to recover fully and I put my plans into action. Little by little the sphere was decreasing in size, further limiting the space inside, thus limiting the movements of the one known as All for One. This did not go unnoticed by the two and soon All for One called out someone's name. Kurogiri. Suddenly, in the area behind the villain, a purple mist appeared and a humanoid creature emerged from it. At your command, sir. Prepare the gate A. This is actually a plan, but obviously he wasn't going to say the name in front of Garra, who seemed to be smart. Understood, sir. All Might at that moment advanced against All for One, wanting to stop him, thinking that the villain was thinking of escaping. Again All for One had decided to attack me, but this time I was prepared and I summoned thorns all over the place. Even so, All for One showed no hint of retreating. Even though the thorns slashed at him continuously, I suddenly felt a huge pressure on me from All for One. At the first time he stepped forward I didn't feel it. He seemed to want to test me, but now it was like if he was serious and intent on killing me. I unconsciously took a step back. All Might behind All for One suddenly shouted, Garra Shounen. Too late, All Might. That should make you stop bothering us. My little game got interesting with the kid here, but I've already wasted too much time. That's when I realized that my foot had gone through a portal on my back. And because of that I lost balance and a punch approached my face. See you later, boy, another day we'll see each other again. Upon hearing that sentence, I only had the ability to create a thin wall before the impact, but only the wall did not prevent me from being hit, so with the force of the punch I was sent flying directly through the portal, and when I passed through it I saw that I was in the sky of an unknown city. This force that hit me directly would definitely explode my head if I wasn't using a shell around my body. The impact still made me fly to a wall of a building, causing a great sound. Before I lost consciousness I heard someone beside me. Hey? A child. I looked at the figure for a while but everything seemed blurred. I soon lost consciousness. Some time later, I woke up suddenly lying on a bed, in a space totally unknown to me. While thinking about the place, I suddenly noticed someone standing next to me. So you finally woke up, hey? Welcome, this is my house. In front of me was a woman with red eyes, bunny ears, chocolate skin and silvery white hair. I was fascinated by her figure but quickly jumped out of bed as I walked away from her. Who are you? Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. I finally had time to post this chapter, and honestly I'm finding it very difficult to continue this story as no harem. Because all the women that appear, and will appear, are potential lovers, but I'll continue with no harem, because I know my capabilities, so I won't try that to not spoil the story. Different from the other version of Garra in MHA, now you have a reason to meet the illustrious character Mirko. How do you think the fight scene was? Please tell me so I can see how I can improve the story, especially in these combat scenes. This chapter have 3,1k of words. Enjoy. Spoiler from the next chapter. Fight me. Chapter 9, Rumi Usagiyama. 10. Rumi Usagiyama. Let's fight. POVMC. Oh, good reflexes, boy, you look pretty strong, hey? How about we test this? The woman who was calm before, was surprised by my reaction and then looked extremely excited with a big smile on her face. Suddenly, without any warning, she jumped towards me quickly. I noticed that there was no sand around me, and with his speed he could only defend his kick with his arms. She is strong. Interesting. You resisted it, hey? So how about another kick? Luna. Double, hey. She at the end of her sentence looked a little surprised. After all, I had trapped her other leg in the sand, preventing her from using it for attack by removing the sand from the cement on her feet. This took her center of gravity for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. Even so, she didn't seem to be afraid or willing to back down. Her smile grew even bigger and apparent on her face. But suddenly, the leg I thought I had trapped was removed with a little apparent effort from the figure. I was impressed as she used her foot that was trapped in my guard to pull her leg out of the sand. Come on, show me your strength. So, she kept trying to kick me, which just dodged in the small place we were. I confess that it was very difficult to dodge, because her speed was greater than mine in some moments, but in the end I managed to dodge. Even with difficulties, the woman was strong, stronger than me, but I managed to dodge her blows. The room we were in was completely destroyed. I still didn't attack her because I was analyzing the place. It didn't look like a villain's hideout at all, and as she said, it actually looked like a pretty ordinary house, which left me even more in doubt. Is she a villain or a hero? Her strength made me just think about these two possibilities. She sure isn't a normal person. Until now I've been limiting the use of my quirk because I didn't want to destroy the place, but it had already turned the ground into rubble, so I had already decided my course of action. With that, I stayed immobile in the place I was. Hey? Tired of running away? Fight like a man. With that sentence she attacked me with a horizontal kick. I stayed still and when she was very close to hitting me, a wall of sand appeared that prevented the attack. I quickly approached her while she was careless and punched her right in the belly. That was it. Strong enough to destroy the wall of the room we were in. Even I was surprised by my strength. When I destroyed the wall, a path was opened for my escape. It was thrown outside. But it did not indicate any pain. It was just crouched with her hand on her stomach. She suddenly smiled, a bigger smile than before. Haha. You really are an interesting child. Let's fight more, hey? Visits. She had stopped laughing when she looked to the side, so I found myself curious to know who she was talking about. Leaving the room through the destroyed wall, I noticed 3 people looking at everything in silence, while one of them looked shocked. Suddenly one of these people spoke. Garra, we have a lot of things to talk about. His expression was calm, but I could easily hear the irritation in his voice. A/N, it was at this moment then he knew. He fucked up. Oh, I'm fucked. 5 minutes later. Now we are in the room of the house that I destroyed the wall, sitting with a table in the center. In front of me was All Might, Nizu and Kenji, and next to me was the heroine Mirko, totally unconcerned with everyone around her. And with her feet on top from the table, nobody seemed to care about it. After all, this was his house. I found her name because that's what Kenji called her, and she seems to be a hero, and from my little interaction with her, I believe that her personality completely changes when she fights. A battle addict, if she's not fighting or doing her duty as a hero, she was like now, completely bored and unconcerned with everything around her. While doing my analysis on her, Kenji was the one who took me out of my thoughts. I came here today to see her situation and give my thanks, but by the time I arrive to visit you and bring you back, you are fighting a professional hero. Kenji All Might. All Might looked like he wanted to say something, but with a single Kenji look, All Might again became silent. All Might is really very strong and smart when it comes to fighting, even if intelligence is not one of his best traits. That's why All Might stopped when he saw Kenji's face and got depressed. All Might is indeed a simple person to understand. Come on Kenji, you know very well what All Might meant, as you are the chief of police, you should know better than anyone about how Mirko acts. Nizu. Sigh asterisk, I know that Nizu, but that's not the only reason I'm angry. Besides using your quirk in public twice, and still going out during the night. I appreciate that you saved people, but heed my orders. Kenji at the time seemed to be venting all his accumulated stress, but soon after that, his attitude completely changed and he again returned to his usual calm. Cough asterisk even so Garra, I thank you, because of you several people managed to escape safely, I owe you one. Kenji at that moment lowered his head in thanks and All Might gave a thumbs up while showing a big smile. Nizu beside him was stroking his fur. With a small smile on his face, Mirko, he continued not paying attention to the conversation. Because of your contributions, public image, and your power, the police, the Commission of Heroes with the support of the UA decided something very important, besides you being a special case in this, because we cannot see you as a child. At that moment, Kenji took something out of his pocket and placed two objects on the table, while All Might kept his smile and Nizu nodded. The two objects appeared to be a cell phone and an ID, hero license. Garra, as a representative of the Japan Police, I am pleased to finally nominate you as an interim professional hero. The two items on the table are a license to act and a special cell phone given to heroes to locate crimes with a map so that don't you get lost. Ah! You know, it's only possible to give you this because I made you a member of our school, a student, thus you got the temporary hero license. I'm a genius, aren't I? It would also give you more freedom to walk around the city, and with the map on your cell phone it's impossible for you to get lost. Nizu. I'm not Zoro, you know. Nizu looked excited as he praised himself while rubbing his white fur. It really came as a big surprise to me as I never expected anything like that. But it would really help me if I wanted to act or do something like a hero. In addition to what Nizu said, you won't have all the commitments that a hero has with society. We consider that because of your age, you can act like a normal citizen whenever you want, but if something happens nearby and you want to help, that will give you quick access to the location. Kenji. I didn't believe so much in Kenji's words. I know that this will allow me to do some things, but it's like somehow they wanted to use me, or impose something on me. This happened a lot with people involved in politics. Probably this was the work of those who run the Hero Commission. Instead of seeing me as a threat and limiting me, they thought it better to use me. I'm pretty sure this thought of mine is correct, but I don't care anyway. Nizu finally continued. You still have 2.5 years before you graduate and be a full professional hero, Nizu. Thank you Garra Shounen. If it wasn't for your help earlier, I wouldn't have been able to save the citizens and would regret it for the rest of my life. All Might. All Might spoke. After being silent for the whole conversation, he lowered his head towards me, which made me feel embarrassed, but at that moment, Mirko, who had been sitting quietly until now, said something, mumbling that only I, who was next to him, sighed, and All Might with his heightened senses could hear. Helped hero number 1? So it must be strong. At that moment All Might and I were sweating at the thought. Please no, not that. As if she wanted to confirm my suspicion, she continued her reasoning. Our previous fight was unfinished too. After that she said loudly to everyone as she got up from her chair quickly. Boy! Let's fight! Nizu and Kenji, who were preparing to leave, suddenly looked at everything thoughtfully, while I, after thinking about this proposal for a few seconds, replied. Okay. There are 2 reasons why I accepted your proposal. The first reason is that I am very inexperienced when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. The second reason is that I see myself very fragile if someone comes close to me to fight, so I could take advantage of that moment to strengthen me, before it was too late. Thus began my fight against Mirko, or as I would later come to know her as my big sister. Hello everyone, IsekaiFan here. Sorry for not posting chapters for 2 whole weeks. I ended up getting sick, and I had a lot of duties to do. It discouraged me a little to post the chapter. I also took advantage of being Sick and made more chapters of other FICS that I intend to post in the future. Creating fan FICS is just a hobby for me, so I don't have a specific release date, or I might end up not even posting a chapter per week, but anyway. I'm finally healthy and I could post this chapter for you guys, and I have some news. I'll be posting another FIC on the platform next week, so stay tuned. Sorry for the short chapter. This chapter have 1,8k of words, enjoy.